The Gospel of the Lord. My grandmother always had this positive attitude about life, about everything. I swore I don't think she ever had a bad day, but I'm sure like all human beings she did, but I never saw it. She never gave you even a slight indication that she was having difficulty or having a bad day. And that carried her in her relationships too. I can remember coming home one day from high school, I think it was in 9th grade, and some kind of dilemma was going on in my life, some kind of crash and burning going on under my perception, if you will, that it was the worst thing. So I came running into my grandmother's home and her house, and just ready to kind of spill my complaints before her feet. And she said, "Stop." And she goes, "Before you tell me your troubles, name at least 3 things you are grateful for." And at that moment, I stopped in my tracks and I had to think, because the troubles that I perceived in my life outweighed everything, right? But indeed, I did find 3 things that I could be grateful for. And by the time I got to the 3rd one, I had forgotten what I was complaining so miserably about in my life at that moment. And in so many ways, that is the way Jesus is approaching these disciples at this resurrection appearance. They are ready to go back to their old lives. They are still kind of lost and hopeless, and they are complaining. They're brokenhearted because everything that they dreamed about in their life had just, because of Good Friday, just came crashing down. And indeed, then for many of them, this was the worst moment in their lives. And so when Jesus first appears on the scene, they really want to just kind of unload. And Jesus says, "Peace be with you." He invites them to find a deeper place in their lives. Not to say that the sorrow and the pain of Good Friday wasn't going to be a part of their life, because even Jesus, the risen Jesus, had scars. But Jesus offered them to understand that that peace that he was bringing was not just to be free from conflict and from angst and pain, but peace in the Hebrew scriptures was a shalom, which means a communion with God. That's what he was reminding them of as he first appeared to them, as they're just about saying, "Where have you been? What is going on?" He says, "Peace be with you." Enter into that communion with Jesus. Enter into that communion with God, which is the fullness of life. And that fullness of life brings us further along to know that whatever cross that we carry, whatever hardship that is upon our hearts, we will live. And indeed, we will live in the fullness of life. And that fullness of life that is promised to us not only in eternity, but it's already begun here. In that peace and in that fullness of life, which the risen Jesus invites us to. Even in the midst of this pandemic, it might be a good time to say, what are those things I am grateful for? What are those things that truly bring me in full communion with God, that invite me to a fullness of life?